Namaskar friends, welcome to Utkarsh in English, the exclusive channel for English medium students. Welcome everybody. Let us start with the famous quote of John Dewey because today's topic is progressivism and the father of progressivism is John Dewey. So we are starting the session with the famous quote of John Dewey, that is, education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the session of progressivism. So, if we are talking about the progressivism, what we are talking about? We are talking about the education for life. So, John Dewey says that education is life itself. We are not preparing the individual for the life as we have said in the pragmatism or the naturalism or any other philosophy. This is the philosophy which is being which is being adopted by our current contemporary education system, whether through the NCF 2005, National Curriculum Framework 2005, whether through the National Policy of Education 2019 draft, or whether through the Right to Education Act 2009. We are actually adopting the philosophy of education is life itself. So let us start the session. Good evening to all. So first we will see the exponents. Like I have said that John Dewey, he is called the father of progressivism because he has actually started the progressive movement in the Western society. Other ones are Kilpatrick, Pestalozzi, Froebel, then Herbert, Helen Parkhurst, Maria Montessori, Carlton Washburn. So they are the people who have actually given various kinds of, if we are talking about the plans for education. Like if we are talking about the Froebel. Froebel has given us the kindergarten. If we are talking about the Parkhurst, Helen Parkhurst had given us the Dalton plan. Then Maria Montessori, she has given the nursery plan. Then the Washburn. Washburn has given us the Winnetka plan. So we must have learned these names prior to this, like the Dalton plan, the kindergarten plan, the nursery plan, and the Winnetka plan. These all plans are the basis of progressive movement. So the DV has started the school based on these plans. So yes, Jangir Khan, it is the Hindi, Pragativad, but we are talking about the progressivism. So the Indian thinkers, if we are talking about the progressivism, we can say that Rabindranath Tagore has initiated the first naturalist school, but the curriculum he has adopted for the Vishwa Bharati school, college and school, it is a progressive movement. Then the Giju Bhai Badheka, in the 1940s, he has actually invited Montessori to India. So Gijubhai Badheka has started the Montessori movement in India. We always say that Gijubhai Badheka has started the Montessori movement in India. Therefore, what you will see that in India, various schools are, the old schools are called Montessori schools or the kindergarten schools. The movement in India has been started by the Gijubhai Badheka. Then the D.S. Kothari, the famous Kothari of all the Kothari commissions, whether it is the 64 commission, whether it is the 68 policy of education, or the 71 or the 72, various Kothari commissions in education are there. Then the Professor Yashpal, our contemporary, who has actually presided, he was the chairman of all the present day curriculum frameworks, like if we are talking about the 98, 2000, or in the 1993, the famous report that education is burden is the report chaired by the Professor Yashpal. So what we see we see that the various things, various changes and reforms in the Indian education system have been initiated by the D.S. Kothari and Professor Yashpal. After the independence, when reforms have started in Indian education system, after the Jawaharlal Nehru era, initial era was the reconstruction, social reconstruction era in Indian education system. After that, D.S. Kothari has commissioned various commissions, has chaired various commissions, and they have started the reforms in India. Whether it is the UGC reform, whether it is the implementation of 10 plus 2 plus 3 scheme in our Indian education system, or the kind of higher education we are getting today, these reforms have been initiated by D.S. Kothari. Now, in the next gen era, like after the 90s when we have opened our economy, then the reform has also necessary for the education system. Those reforms are being chaired by Professor Yashpal. He was the pioneer of implementing various reforms which we are seeing today, whether it is the brain behind the Right to Education Act 2009 or the NCF 2005 which has shaped the current curriculum, or the CCE curriculum. These all reforms have been implemented by the Professor Yashpal in India. So they are the progressivist, whether the Western thinkers, whether the Indian thinkers. We are seeing a very impact of these thinkers on our current and contemporary education system. In psychology, if we are doing things according to the constructivist theory, the constructivism is also the result of progressive movement started by the DV, carried in India by the Tagore, Badheka, Kothari and Yashpal. So these all are actually contributing towards the progressivism in India that has reformed the Indian education system from the British era to the post-independence era to the contemporary era after 90s. So the students who have just joined us, good evening to us, namaskar. Let us continue the topic. Then we are talking about the fundamental principles of the progressivism. In 1897, John Dewey published a book, and its journal, in its summary has been published in the school journal, that is Progressive Education. So he has published this theory in school journal. Therefore, he is called. Yes, Jahangir Khan, we are going with the SBA, ABL and CC. That is very good. So the standpoints are divided into 5 sections. When we are talking about the John Dewey, which he has published in the school journal, that has been outlined into 5 sections, which he has given in 1897. The first one is what education is. What education is. Second one, what school is. Third one, what is the subject matter of education that gives us the curriculum. What is the nature of the method that is for the teacher and the learner. And lastly, the school and the social progress. What is the role or aim and objective of the education in the school or in the society. So these are the 5 domains in which we have outlined, the DV has outlined the progressive education in the schools or the progressive education framework in the society. So let us deal one by one. First is what education is. So what education is, according to the DV, education is participation of the individual in the social consciousness of the race. So he says that the individual participate in the social consciousness of the race, that human race is propagating. We are actually have seen that there are 3 functions of education. The first function is to conserve, the second function is to transmit, and third function is to construct. So we have to conserve the knowledge, preserve the knowledge, we have to transmit this knowledge to the next generation, and next generation has to construct a new knowledge. So here comes the social consciousness of the race, which Dewey is pointing out. Then comes education should take into account that the students is a social being. The process begins at the birth with the child unconscious gaining knowledge and gradually developing their knowledge and partake in the society. So he says that, DV says that education should take into account the education, the learning of the child right from the birth to the death. So he talks about that initially, unconsciously, child starts gaining the knowledge from the society, and gradually, as the education being imparted onto the child, what we see that gradually they start developing their own knowledge, share it to the knowledge, and start taking part in the functioning of the society. So that should be the basis of education according to DV. Next, we see that the education process has two sides. According to DV, it has two sides. One is the psychological side, and the second one is the sociological side. With the psychological forming the basis. Here, he gives the importance for the education psychology. Therefore, we see around 1913, 14, education psychology has taken shape, and Thorndike has worked upon it, because after the DV, the progressive movement have started, and they focused that psychology should be included in the education, because philosophy is just directing the direction of education, but what should be the basis of education? That should be the part of psychology. Therefore, he says that sociological part, which is being given by the philosophies, that is very okay. We have to decide the aims and objectives through the sociology or through the philosophy. But what should be the method, what should be the school, what should be the curriculum, that the main focus should be the basis of psychology. Therefore, various psychologists have started talking about what should be the education, and we have seen in 1913-14 that the Thorndike has given the first book on education psychology. So student centered instruction, yet it is in student centered instruction, but we are not talking about method now. In the method we will talk about this. The instructions should be student centered. That is one of the progressivism. So we say that psychological forming the basis of education has started with the progressivism. After the 1897 paper of the DV, various educationists and psychologists have started working for the psychological basis of education. He also says that a child's own instincts with the help of material that is presented to them will develop according to it. These instincts also form the basis of their knowledge and everything building upon it. So he has actually taken up the nature versus nurture debate. Nature versus nurture debate. And in this he says that the own instincts, that is the nature, will be dependent upon the material presented to them. That is the nurture. So he is talking about that nature and nurture both are contributing towards the development of the child. Therefore, we should actually inculcate both of them. So this forms the basis of DV's assumptions that one cannot learn without motivation. So he takes the assumptions that motivation, that is the instinct, as well as the nurture, both of them, the sociological part, the psychosocial part, as well as the basic instinctual part, biological part, both will play the important role in the motivation of the child, and he cannot learn without the motivation. That again we will see that the readiness of the child given by the Thorndike, or the readiness of the child given by the cognitive theorist, both of them are talking about the readiness of the child that comes from the philosophy of the DV, that the child cannot learn without motivation. So that is what is education. Then the second question which DV is discussing about, what the school is, what the institution of a school signifies in education system. So education fails. He says that education fails because it neglects this fundamental principle of the school as a form of community life. So he talks about that school is the first community which is the part of the life of the child. Because when he moves out from the family, the first community he gets where he has to start adopting and facilitate as a social member, act as a social member, that is the school. So if the schooling education is failing, that is because we are not considering school as a form of community life. So he says that school is the first community, and this should develop the social understanding of the child. It conceives that school as a place where certain information is to be given, where certain lessons are to be learned, or where certain habits are to be formed, which should be according to the social construct. The school is the place where information will be given to the child, where learning of the lessons will occur, and where the habits for the society and the community will be formed in the child, in the behavior of the child. So he conceives schools as that place. Yes, Jangir Khan, we are focusing on the textbook knowledge. That is the question which has been raised again and again, whether the textbooks are the learning or the life is the learning. So, education is life itself, is the DV. Then DV felt that as education is a social construct, therefore a part of society and should reflect the community. School, whenever we are talking about a school, school should reflect the community. It should be a part of society. So what we see that education is a social construct according to DV. Education is the process of living and is not meant to be the preparation of future living. So the school must represent the present life. And here comes the dilemma of Indian education. Indian education is focused on the Western culture. When we are propagating the English education, we have actually focused on the Western culture. Like if an individual is shaking hands in the school and at home he has to touch the feet to show the respect, there is the conflict of values. Whether for greeting we have to shake hands, or whether for greeting adults we have to touch their feet. So this is the kind of conflict an average Indian school going child faces. As he faces it, therefore comes the dilemma. What dilemma? The morality becomes that whatever you are getting benefits for, like in the home you are getting benefit for touching the feet, whether you are caring for them, valuing them or not, touch the feet. And in the school you are getting everything for saying good morning, good evening and shaking hands. There you should practice that. So it actually tarnishes the morality of the child. Therefore the discipline becomes in the school, in the curriculum, disciplines becomes the discipline based on reward and punishment, not the morality develops of the child. Therefore DV says that the education is the process of living, therefore a school must represent the present life system. Then comes the subject matter, the basis of curriculum, because it becomes the basis of curriculum. So whenever we are talking about, so DV says that the curriculum in the school should reflect that society. According to DV, the curriculum in the schools should reflect that of society. So as the basis of schools should be society, as the basis of learning should be society, so curriculum should also reflect the society. Furthermore, he feels that progress is not in the succession of studies, but in the development of new attitude towards and new interest in experience. So whenever we are developing new attitudes, new interest in experience, that is the progress. Progress is not that we are studying very much. Progress is that how much we are getting as an attitude, how much we are getting as an interest, how much we are getting as an experience. So then he talks about the nature of the method. What should be the nature of method of the teacher as well as the learner? So if we are talking about the teacher, method should be focused on child's powers and interest. So this gives us the basis of that progressivism is child-centric. So progressive becomes child-centric education because its all methods are focused on child powers and the interest, whether it is the learning methods for the child or whether it is the teaching or facilitating methods of the teacher. Both methods are based on the child's powers and interest. So what we get? We get here that this education becomes child-centric. So Ashok is asking for Hindi medium. Actually, Ashok, this channel, YouTube channel, that is Utkarsh in English, is exclusively for the English medium students. On Hindi medium, my previous lectures are available. You can have them, as well as various teachers are teaching in Hindi medium, and the content is very good. So you should avail the benefit of all the classes which is going on the Hindi medium channel, as well as Utkarsh channel, whether it is the Utkarsh classes Jodhpur channel, whether the other channels. If you have not subscribed the other channels, you should subscribe the Utkarsh classes commerce also, if you are a commerce student, and prescribe the other students also to subscribe the channel, because that channel is exclusively for the commerce students. As well as we have started as a family the Utkarsh classes for law also, so you can actually share and subscribe those channels also. This is the channel for the English medium. Every teacher, every facilitator, every guide which is coming on this channel, that means that we are giving the quality on the channel. So you should bear with us. This is the exclusive channel for the English medium. As I am engaged very much, therefore I can't give very much time. Therefore I am giving just the English medium lectures for the now. In near future, it may happen that I may have the time, then I can give the time for the other channels also. For the time being, you can watch other teachers. They are also giving the quality content. I have watched myself the other teachers, and they are giving very good content. So you can watch them. So the people who are with us, welcome again. Who have just joined us, good evening to all. Let us come back to the content. So what we see that the method is child-centric, therefore education becomes child-centric. Yes, Jangir Karan, we are talking about the methods. Then when we will talk about the methods, then we will talk about the ABL. If child is thrown into a passive role, he says that if child is thrown into a passive role as a student absorbing only information, the result is a waste of the child education. That is happening in concurrently in the Indian education system. We often used to joke that what we should do, we should abolish all kind of education and just give money to the child so that they can have the coaching after 10th class. Because if we can't remember anything prior to that, everybody is taking coaching for what? For the content of the up to the 10th class. So why we are studying 10th class? If I have to recall the content of the 6th class, 7th class, 8th class, I can't remember anything. That means that those years, my golden years, are a waste for me. That is, Divi is saying. If the child is at the passive role, if the child is only gathering and absorbing information, result the waste of child's education. We have wasted our precious 10 or 12 or 13 or 15 years in getting the kind of education that is focusing on mugging up of rote learning of the facts, memorizing facts. So Jahangir Karan, yes, we are talking about the wastage of the child education, because if we have to search the various search engines for getting the information, that means we have wasted our golden years. Let us continue to the next slides. That comes the nature of the method. So information presented in the student will be transformed into new forms, images and symbols by the student so that they fit with their development and interest. What we should do? We should provide information and they should convert them into their own construction. That is the basis of constructivism. Development of this kind of development is natural. To repress this process and attempt to substitute the adult for the child would weaken the intellectual curiosity of the child. Child is a child. Child is a child. He is not an adult. So the format of adult cannot be given to the child. The adult, when we are 17 plus or 18 plus, then we can understand that this information is required and we actually incorporate those information in our memory. But as a child, what is the purpose of memorizing so much information? They can't understand. Therefore, he says that we should not substitute adult for the child and child for the adult. A child is a child. We should not burden them with the various kind of desires and expectations of the adult. Like I have also faced as a father that various coaching people are coming to me, and they are advertising to me, they are trying to convince me that you should get your child the 5th class or the 4th class child admission for the preparation of engineering or medical. What kind of a 10-year-old or 7-year-old child can understand that he is going to do the medical or the engineering? So this is the kind of education the our educators are providing in the contemporary situation, and we are actually weakening the intellectual curiosity of the child. We are providing them with the information, and those informations which should be gathered by the child through the curiosity that has been stopped. It has actually stopped the intellectual development of the child, and gradually child becomes a memorizing machine. So what we see? We see that development of the child is hampered. Cognitive development hampers, intellectual development hampers, and this will reflect in the other developmental areas also. Very good. Prem Raj Sharma, DV describes the inquiry learning format in 1910. After that, he has given various kind of methods. So I am not confirm about the date, but it is not murdering child. We are actually we are murdering childhood. That is good. We are murdering the childhood as a parents and as a teacher. We are the responsible for various kind of deaths going around our society. We are losing around 2,000 to 5,000 kids on the basis of suicides due to the pressure of the system which we have given to them. Let us focus on this, the school and the social progress. So what should be the social progress? According to DV, education which regulates the process of coming to share in the social consciousness is the only sure method of ensuring social progress and reforms. So what we see that the process of coming to share in the social consciousness is the only sure method for the progress and reform. If we are giving the information to the child, then there should be a stoppage in the progress and reforms. If the child is coming to the social consciousness through their own efforts, then they will ensure the social progress and reform. In this respect, so DV foreshadows the social reconstructivism. He says that schools are a means to reconstruct society, but the basis of reconstruction is the social consciousness being developed in the child through the progressive means. So, now we are calling it a quota syndrome because various students are committing suicide in the quota. So we call it a quota syndrome. In a psychology world, in a psychopathological world, we are now terming it as a quota syndrome. That the students are actually feed into the factory of making something, that as Watson has said that I can make anything. Same is the claim by the various institutes, various coaching institutes. They say that we can make anything, and the parents are actually lured by these coaching institutes, and they send their students to themselves, and the students cannot cope up with the pressure being mounted by such kind of institutions which are not following the psychological principles. Therefore, as a teacher, we have to understand the pressure on the child, and we should not be the participation of the increasing these pressures. So let us move back. The school becomes a means for social reconstruction. They must be given the proper equipment to perform this task and guide their students. So progressivism actually focuses on that we should provide various infrastructure equipment to perform this task. Therefore, what we have seen by the Kothari Commission report, that if the Operation Blackboard is providing equipment to perform the task. If we are talking about the Right to Education Act, Professor Yaspal has says that if you don't have any act, then how you can ensure the rights of education? Therefore, we should go for the Right to Education Act. So these kind of things we are providing for the proper equipment to perform this task, guidance of the students. So school and social progress are coherent to each other according to DV. Then we see education principles. Those are the fundamental principles of the progressivism as being coined by the DV in 1897 in the summary in a school journal about the progressivism of the education. Now we will talk about the education principles on the basis of various kind of discussions by the DV, by Kilpatrick, by Pestalozzi, by Froebel, Montessori, Helen Parkhurst, Washburn, the Professor Espal, NCF 2005 has also contributed to it, or the Rabindranath Tagore has talked about the progressive education. So now we will see one by one what are the education principles behind the progressive thought process, progressive philosophy. So emphasis is on learning by doing, hands-on projects, expeditionary learning, experiential learning. So these are the principles, emphasis of progressivism on these kind of things. We should do by hands. Hands-on projects should be there. We should expedite anything. We should experience anything. These kind of learning is being given by this. Then they says about integrated curriculum focused on thematic units. Themes have been given by the NCF 2005. That is the basis of progressivism. We should have themes. We should not focus on various kind of topics of the subject. We should focus on the themes of life, because education is life itself. Then they talk about integration of entrepreneurship into the education. What society needs various kind of working, functioning. So entrepreneurship should be integrated into education. The education is life itself, therefore education should incorporate every kind of social functioning which is required in the society. Therefore we should focus on life skills, we should focus on functionality, we should focus on working, we should focus on the life related functioning in the education. Then for this these kind of learning, for the thematic learning, for entrepreneurship, we should focus on problem solving and critical thinking. So they have incorporated the critical theory also, as well as the problem solving, that is the progressive thought for the education. That if we are trying to solve the problem of the society, that means we are reforming, that means we are progressing. So next one is group work. They're always talk about, because school is a community, school is a society, so group work should be the basis. Development of social skills also, as community, or we should develop for the community, we should develop for the group, therefore group work and development of social skills. Then understanding and action as the goals of learning as opposed to rote knowledge. So they say that we should not rote the knowledge, they condemn the rote knowledge. So what they say that we should not do the knowledge, whether we should have understanding and action as the goals. The Manoj is asking expeditionary. Expeditionary means we should go on expedition, we should go on discovering something, that calls expedition. So you will find the word expedition in the dictionary. Expedition means discovering and going on the voyage to discover something. So it is the discovery journey. So it is beyond discovery, but it is like discovery. We are actually expediting anything, any knowledge, any object, any content, that is called. Then comes the collaborative and cooperative learning projects. Because the group work should be there. If the group work should be there, therefore the learning becomes collaborative and cooperative, and the project should be given collaboratively and cooperatively, which we are giving in the constructivism also. So education for the social responsibility and democracy. So they are the basis of progressivism, social responsibility as well as the democracy. Yes, Pallavi, it is very true that problem solving, group work are the all methods we teachers are using nowadays. Because this is the end of the philosophy, and end of the philosophy will always occur on the contemporary philosophy of education. So contemporary philosophy of Indian education as well as the world education is progressivism. So highly personalized learning. Personalized learning means that we are facilitating the individual differences. So learning according to individual differences, accounting for each individual's personal goals. So we should make personal goals for every individual. Then integration of community service and service learning projects into the daily curriculum. Like we in the NCF 2005, we have said that the homework should be banned. Homework should not be given. Then what we should do? We should give the homework, the community service and the service learning projects of various kind of community or social prospects in the homework. That means we are not giving the same classwork as homework, but we are actually giving the homework to continue the learned things into the society, that will convert the learning into the community service and service learning projects. That is the basis of not giving homework, still giving homework. When we study the NCF, we will see that they say that you should not give the homework, but you should give the homework. So what it means? It means that homework should be given in such a way that the learned content of the classwork becomes the community service and service learning projects as a homework. So they should talk to the parents, they should talk to the adults, they should go in the community, they should talk to the various kind of individuals. Yes, Pallavi, it is the part and parcel. Selection of subject content by looking forward to ask what skills will be needed in the future society. Skills. So gradually in progressivism, education becomes the skill-based education, not the knowledge-centered education. That we are getting the knowledge of everything, but we are not getting the skills out of it. Like often people say that we know everything but we can't do anything. So we are now moving towards the era where we know the things and we can do the things also. So de-emphasis on the textbooks in favor of varied learning resources. So now various learning resources will be emphasized. Textbook are not emphasized. Emphasized is on lifelong learning and social skills. So we will see that lifelong learning as well social skills are the part of the principle. And assessment. This is one of the main feature of this assessment by evaluation of child projects and productions. Not the child knowledge. It should be on the what the child can produce, not whatever he can reproduce. We are not talking about reproduction. Earlier what has happened, whenever a question been asked, student used to say that means he is reconstructed thing, he has remembered everything and now he is reconstructing. Now we always say that the education should be there. So no political talk. So nobody actually asks me anything political, as well as you should also not. We are teachers and we should always work for the goodness of the society. Let us move on towards the next topic, that was the aims of education. So aims of education in progressivism. Progressivists believe that education should focus on the whole child rather than on the content or the teacher. The progressivist teacher should not focus on the content, should not focus on the teacher. The education should focus on the child. Yes, we are. Jahangir Khan is talking about the crowded class. We will talk about the crowded class lately. Good homework methods for teacher. Homework should be the continuation of the education in the service of the society, that I am trying to focus. NCF 2005 has talked about it, that now the homework should be the continuation of the classwork into the service of the society. Yes, entrepreneurship and education is now being provided to our students also. Then education philosophy stresses that students should test ideas by active experimentation. Active experimentation. That is the aim of education. Then learning is rooted in the question of the learners. So questioning by the learners as well as arise through the experiencing the world. So experiences and questions should be the basis of learning. So questions of learners as well as experiencing the world, they should be the basis of learning. Therefore, learning is active, not passive. Then comes the next aims. The learner is a problem solver. We always believe that learner is a problem solver, thinker, who makes their own meaning through their own individual experience in the physical and cultural context. Yes, Shivani Desai, child-centered is constructivism, but constructivism is a psychological perspective. Today we are talking about the philosophical perspective. The philosophy behind the constructivism is progressivism. Understand it. Therefore, we call it the progressive education. The progressive education in the grade first, in the PRT, in the TGT, in the PGT comes everywhere. To understand the progressivism, we have to understand all of the previous philosophies. And constructivism is the result of progressivist philosophical thought process which have resulted in the psychology in the constructivism. So next one is the effective teachers provide experiences so that students can learn by doing. So we have to provide experiences and they will learn by doing. Then comes the emphasis on process, how one comes to know. Process of how one know. Not on imparting the knowledge, it is the process of how the knowledge can be gathered, how the knowledge can be constructed. That is the basis of constructivism. What Shivani is talking about. Shivani is talking about constructivism. Constructivism is psychology. So it has proven, it has given, the philosophy has given, the emphasis should be on the process of constructing knowledge. And that has given us the psychology of constructivism. Next, we will talk about the curriculum. So the curriculum, if we are talking about, the center of the school curriculum should reflect the development of human in society. So we will say that school curriculum should reflect the development of human society. Then we say that curriculum should be more flexible and it should influence by the student interest. So as the education becomes child-centered, so we see that it is being influenced by student interest and therefore it becomes flexible. Then curriculum contains derived from the student's interest as well as the questions. Books are tools rather than authority. We are not governed by the books, we will be governed by the student's interest. Therefore, books are only tools to generate the interest of the child. They are not authority on which we will teach everything. Like the teachers are doing nowadays, they go only by the textbook, and that is the one of the worst thing to do in the constructivism and progressivism. Then the study of core subjects like the language, science, history should be coupled with study of cooking, sieving and manual training. So this is the philosophy behind the Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was saying that we have to incorporate every household core, social core training with the study of core subjects like the history, science, language, etc. So we have incorporated the SUPW in our curriculum. We have incorporated art and craft. These all things have been incorporated. Yes, Shivani, other tools can be shared, teaching aid, then methods of the teacher. So teachers becomes facilitators of learning who encourage students to use a wide variety of activities to learn. They will encourage students to use wide variety of activities. Progressive teachers use a wide variety of materials. They will also use various materials, allowing for individual as well as group work. Research, or we can call projects. So they will provide various materials for developing as a group research or projects. Yeah, vocational training is also right and SUPW is also right. Progressive teachers encourage students to learn by discovery. Like we have said in the expeditionary learning. In expeditionary learning, they will learn through discovery. They will go on the expedition of knowledge. Then comes progressive education often includes the use of community resources. We will always use the community resources as well as encourage service learning projects. That is the basis of homework. Student was asking about the homework. So homework always encourages service learning projects where the school-based academic learning connects itself with the society in some form. Then the scientific method is used by progressivist educators. Scientific method, we always use the scientific method so that students can study matter and events systematically and first hand. We always do the experimentation. That means every student can learn in the first hand, in the systematic way. Palvi Manglik is asking about the project and assignment. When we will do the tools, we will definitely do it. If I am going to explain these kind of differences, what will happen in we will actually don't have the time for progressivism. We have to still discuss 3 points in it. So let us move on. Then comes the discipline. So discipline is autonomous freedom. So what we see? We see that autonomous freedom is there. Most of the people are asking for the books. Actually, we can't name certain books and publishers on this YouTube channel, because then it becomes a advertising content, and then therefore YouTube actually says that we cannot advertise something on this channel. Therefore, don't ask these questions here. You can ask it in the comments and our team will reply you on those comments. After the video, you can ask this in the comments also. Then autonomous freedom, because the knowledge gained through progressivism is static. No, Shivani, knowledge gained through progressivism is not static, it is active, it is ever changing, because through experiences we change our knowledge. So therefore it is not static, it is dynamic. If we are talking about the knowledge becomes a dynamic in progressivism, because as we progress we construct. Therefore we say that the development of the child happens from the from naive concepts to the correct knowledge. So it is always changing. Like earlier we have the geocentric model of solar system, then we have changed it towards the heliocentric model of the solar system. That is the changes are there. Then shared decision making, planning of teachers with students, and student selected topics are all aspects. So what we have in discipline here, because autonomous freedom is there, then what is the role of teacher and students in the? They collaborate, they have a shared decision making. They always inform each other. The teacher informs the students, students inform the teacher, and collaboratively they develop the assessment, they develop the content. Planning of teachers always occurs with the students, and student selected topics are always taken care into. So this is the kind of discipline where we democratically decide what should be the course of action towards the learning. Then came, next one is the teacher. So teacher is a part of this, not as an authoritative figure. We are not authoritative, not as an authoritative figure, but as a member of the community who is there to assist the student. So what we see that in here, we are not as an authoritative figure, we are not authoritarian. What we are there to assist the student in any kind of learning. So teacher has significant place in education, but as a facilitator, helper and scaffolder. So what we see that the teacher becomes facilitator, helper and scaffolder. He becomes three things. Then we see that therefore teacher has significant place. He is the facilitator of opportunities. He is to assist the child, as well he is to scaffold. He has to support the learning of the child. He puts the people in the position of inquiry and discovery. So why we are facilitating, why we are assisting, and why we are scaffolding? To put the pupil, student, learner in the position of inquiry and discovery, so that they can have the experiential learning, they can have the expeditionary learning, they can learn by doing things. He is not to impose anything, not to impose anything on the child. So Jangin Khan is saying that nowadays teacher is a football. No, teacher is not a football. Teacher is a guide, teacher is a philosopher, teacher is a friend. If we cannot adorn this role, then we must become a football. Because if the students are not accepting us, that means we are a football. So he has not to impose anything, because that will restrict the autonomous freedom and various kind of development. He helps the child to develop according to their abilities and interest, not to impose anything. The child will be developed according to their abilities, according to their interest. Then lastly, we will see the school. So schools becomes a garden for children where they can play. And school should improve the way of life of our citizens through experiencing freedom and democracy in schools. So schools are the institution which gives the experience of freedom as well as the democracy in schools. So that is the progressivism. Today, after the lecture, after 2 to 3 hours, you will get the questions on this. So do the questions based on the various kind of philosophies that will be provided to you in the PDF format on our app. If still you have not downloaded the app, that means you are deprived of various kind of privileges which we are providing on our application. Go to the Play Store, download the Utkarsh app from the Play Store, install it, and have the access to various kind of privileges which are being provided on our Utkarsh app. This month we are providing the free test series also for the month, because we have just completed 1 year of our launching of app. Therefore, I again request everybody that if you have still not downloaded the app and install it. We are providing PDF on the app as well as various kind of questions on the app. So today you will get the question. If you have still not seen the previous videos or you have missed some videos, go and watch it on the platform. Playlist has been created on the English channel, Utkarsh in English channel. You can see the playlist and you can watch every video which is available on it. On our platform, we don't delete any video. It will be on the platform if you are going to come after 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. Like if you want to see my previous videos or any video, any content video on the channel, you can watch it. So yes, Archana, previous videos will be available on the playlist. You can go to the playlist in this channel, Utkarsh in English channel, and you can access the whole series of videos there. So Pahalwan Chaudhary, I think the name I have spelled is correct, I have spoken is correct. So it is going on the philosophy of education. Today we have completed this education psychology philosophy, and you will get the questions after the video. So for the time being, I am taking off. Namaskar to all. I wish that we will meet again. Namaskar.
Click on the subscribe button to subscribe to our channel. Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Download Utkarsh app from Google Play Store. Utkarsh app is one-stop solution for your competitive exam preparation with lots of unique and amazing features like create your own custom test, add YouTube videos in app library, add web reference link. For quick revision, make your own custom flashcards. For each chapter, you can give online test and analyze your performance. So download Utkarsh app now.